if your husband or your father is allowed you to. So I think, I mean, personally, I think like their demands are very progressive demands. I mean, it's true that the Saudi Arabia society is completely stuck, and the problem, I think, is like the Wahhabism, like it's completely exclusive to other. You have no other rights than to practice Wahhabism. I mean, and I think it's one of the main problem of the country. And I didn't have time to share some idea I have, but for example, like in Saudi Arabia, they create enemies, like they are completely obsessed by Iran, saying that Iran even manipulates the Saudi citizens against the regime. And so I don't think it's, I think they are very, like, I think the kingdom is cracking, and I think it's only the Saudi people that have the answer to their future, but I'm not sure we can say that we can use Saudi Arabia movement as an example for like for us or for other countries. I mean, for example, the blogger Raif Badawi, like right now the king give his clemency because of international mobilization, but it's the first time that these kind of things happen.
Thank you. We'll open the floor for about, I think we have time for about 2 more questions. The lady in the back who's been waiting patiently with the mic, and the gentleman. If we have, yeah, go ahead. Yes, go ahead. You have the mic. Oh, sorry, I thought that was a mic in her hand.
طبعا استمعت واستمتعت للمحاضرين في الفترة الجزء الأخير. لم نتكلم أو لم نتعرف حقيقة على مفهوم المواطنة. هل المواطنة هي الجذور أم المواطنة هي الشجرة أم المواطنة هي الأغصان؟ اليوم احنا نعيش في قرية عالمية صغيرة، لذا يأتي موضوع المواطنة موضوع هام. إذا كنت أنا مثلا أنا من الكويت، إذا كنت أنا كويتية جذوري كويتية، لكن عشت في الخارج وأبنائي أيضا ولدوا في الخارج، على أي أساس يكون مفهوم المواطنة؟ هل تعود إلى الجذور أم تعود إلى الشجرة وإلى الأغصان؟ نتحدث عن بلداننا العربية للأسف الشديد.
لو سمحتي ما معنا وقت.
عفواً، عندي بس أنا دقيقة واحدة يعني عفواً. نتحدث عن الدول العربية وكأن بعض الدول الغربية بعيدة عن ما يحدث اليوم في الساحة العربية أو في ساحة الشرق الأوسط، وبالتالي أعتقد أن زرع الإرهاب ليس فقط في المنطقة العربية بدليل، وأيضاً سحب الجنسية لا يقتصر على الدول العربية. بعض الدول الاسكندنافية أعلنت عن سحب جنسيتها عن بعض المتطوعين في عمليات الإرهاب. عندما نتحدث بصورة موضوعية لنتعرف على الأسس التي يمكن أن ينطلق منها هذا الاجتماع، وهو الاجتماع الأول لمفهوم المواطنة الفعالة. شكراً. كوثر الجوعان من الكويت.
تفضل.
Okay. Okay, thank you for all the speakers about interesting talks, but I want to share with you. Me? Okay. I want to share with you one important question about citizenship. We are thinking about all the problems of citizenship at the same time. Maybe it's much better to make priorities. Because we did not pass through the path that European or the other countries have gone through in the path of citizenship. We are still did not have the claim over our rights or a claim over who will rule us, the relation between the state and the citizen. That the citizen is who dictate or who will elect or who will decide what is the state should be all about. This concept, this simple concept of citizenship, we did not acquire yet. And yet we want to discuss things related to what Ala was saying in regards to the workers of other countries in the Gulf or very controversial issues in that regard. Of course, I agree with the gentleman here that we should address the sons and daughters of women in the Arab countries as citizens. But still, the first concept that we should address is the relation between the state and the citizen. Do we dictate what the states are going through? Do we dictate who is, do we elect who is representing us, and so on and so forth?
Thank you. We'll take
Thanks.
one more. The gentleman in the back.
Thank you very much. Omar Dewachi, AUB. One of the things I'm kind of interested in is, it seems like a lot of the citizenship framing that is happening seems to be interested in a positive value of what citizenship is. I'm wondering if we could also begin to think about a negative value of citizenship. Actually, citizenship as something poisonous and toxic. You know, many people, at least that I know from places that I know, like Iraq, actually, the best thing that could happen in their lives is they lose their citizenship. If there's someone else gives them another citizenship. People who go to the West, who get citizenship in the West, who get refugee status, people leave not because necessarily they're harassed politically, but actually because their citizenship doesn't allow them to go anywhere. Because their citizenship doesn't really give them any privilege, doesn't give them anything. During the 1990s, when Iraqis came out of Iraq to the Middle East, no country would give any Iraqi a visa or an entry, and you have to actually actively revoke your citizenship so you can actually become a human being. And I think so. I think the issue, what you're talking about, is being a dissident. What does it mean to be a dissident? Because it seems to be, and a lot of times, if you actually lose your citizenship, it's actually one of the best things that could happen to your life. So I'm wondering if we could actually begin to think about more different kind of value systems that go beyond the idea that citizenship is always something good. Thank you.
I think we can squeeze in one more. Hala, since you're there, if we can just give it to Ziad in the back, please. And we'll be rather brief in our answers.
Hello. Yes. Bassam. Thank you all for wonderful presentations. But I think there seems to be a little bit of analytic confusion, or maybe I'm just confused, and that's quite possible, actually. We seem to be talking about citizenship being there or not being there, as if, and that's a very normative way to analyze things. And what I'm trying to say is, all of these, we're confusing citizenship as something opposed to dictatorship. But you can be a citizen in a dictatorship. The question is not whether people want citizenship or not, notwithstanding Omar's excellent critique, I think, but it's a competition or a conflict over what does it mean to be a citizen. Because even the Saudi king is speaking in the name of the people. Right? It might be a farce, and it's a lie that he represents the people, but the fact that he has to claim he represents the people, it means that we live in a world in which citizenship is assumed to be in existence. So the debate is not about whether there is citizenship or is not citizenship, but what are the contours of citizenship, or what rights come with being a citizen versus what rights are not necessarily part of the citizenship package. And I think that's why the concept of engaged citizenship is useful, because what we're seeing in the Arab uprisings is not, or in mass mobilization, and not just in 2011, but in previous eras, going back to the 19th century in the Middle East, is not about having citizenship or not having citizenship. It is a conflict between two or more sides about what does it mean to be a citizen. And this is why I think we need to break away from this normative understanding that citizenship means you have a right to a job. No. There is a conflict and a debate right now about whether citizenship guarantees you a job or whether citizenship guarantees you the right to pursue a job, right? But these are both concepts of citizenship. So I think we need to disaggregate the normative from the analytical with regards to what we mean by citizenship.
Thank you. The floor is back to our panelists. We'll start with you, perhaps.
Okay, I didn't think I oppose citizenship and dictatorship. I agree with what you are saying. But for example, when the new King Salman was not elected but nominated one month ago, like all the Saudi, they went to Twitter to celebrate the new king. So in one way they complain, and in another way they are very proud of their king. So as you say, yeah, the problem is not they are citizens. The problem is that they have not the right that is part of being citizen. So, yeah.
Thank you. I'll turn to you if you'd like to comment.
This is just starting with Ziad's point about what does citizenship mean. I think particularly what helped me think about citizenship was this project that we did with the Arab Council for Social Sciences on sovereignty. I begin by saying that citizenship is simply an expression of sovereignty and where the locus of authority lies in this country. With its popular sovereignty, you'll have citizenship rights that's clear, people agreeing on what it means to be a national within this country. So I really see that citizenship is simply an expression of this. And then beyond that, it's what state-society relations look like and how it's all conceived. But you have to understand what sovereignty means first. So there is this theoretical realm of confusion. I don't think it's one of those things that's going to be defined. It's one of those things where we're going to get like 20 years of discussion over forever that's never ending, and your literature review would be, books and volumes. So, this is like, it's one of those things that's just very theoretical, and it's not going to be concretely and neatly designed. We can degree what we mean in the sphere of whatever the topic is. But in terms of negative, I'm interested actually, in reading this, I never thought economics would mean much. And we always have this disciplinary, divides between political science, economics, whatever. But political economy here is important. There's a market for citizenship. There's a global market for citizenship. And whatever citizenship you carry has some kind of value. It's not dictated. It can only be expressed by the person who owns it, because it's whether you can have a Saudi passport that gets you no access to any other country, because apparently it's the worst passport you can have in terms of getting a visa anywhere. But within Saudi Arabia, you have certain rights, or you can have. Saudi Arabian passport's even worse than the Iraqi, but people still want a kind of Saudi Arabian citizenship for whatever reason, because it entails some kind of economic benefits within the country. So there is this market where there are some advantages and disadvantages. I agree. I mean, I lived for 20 years without a Bahraini citizenship, and it didn't mean nothing when I got the passport. It means the idea of belonging, and because there's also blacklists, and there's also these massive surveillance technologies, and there's also the way the state treats you beyond this piece of paper is as important. So you can have you might not be a GCC national, but you can be a very rich Syrian businessman or Lebanese businessman, and you have the privileges, and you have access to power, and you have influence, and you can be a normal GCC citizen that's just been blacklisted. You can't get a public sector job. You can't, your kids will never get scholarships. You get stopped at the airport. You get harassed by the police. It actually, as an expression, that passport doesn't carry in your everyday relationship with the state, this archaic, what Foucault calls the archaic exchange of your everyday life in these countries, doesn't really translate into just the simple paper that you carry. There's so many other technologies and mechanisms and governmentalities that you have to work within that context that define what citizenship actually means. So that's basically what I have to say on that.
بالنسبة للتداعيات إسقاط الجنسية مثلا في الخمسينيات حين كان جد الملك الحالي أسقط الجنسية عن عبد الرحمن الباكر، كانت البحرين تحت الحماية البريطانية فأعطي الجنسية البريطانية. اليوم نحن لسنا ضد، مع الأسف يعني يمكن نكون احنا نحن إلى أن نكون تحت رعاية أحد، لأن أسقطت جنسيتنا والآن لا يوجد، يعني نحن من غير جنسية، يعني نحن من غير وضع قانوني. ويعني شخصيا مثلا أنا من 21 يوم لحد اليوم أنا حتى وضع القانوني في هذا البلد غير قانوني حاليا، يعني كان قانونيا ولكن الآن أنا في يعني كل المنافذ الرسمية أنا غير معرف حاليا. وهذه هي فكرة لا أحد. كانت فكرة لا أحد يعني يستعملها على سبيل الطرفة أحد أبنائي معي حين أكون مستغرق في القراءة يقول لي أن أنت في حالة لا أحد لا ترد علينا. بس الآن أنا لا أحد بمعنى أن النظام لا يسمعني. أنا كنت لا أسمع أحد لأنني في حالة مثلا مستغرق في القراءة. الآن أنا لا أحد يسمعني لأنني لا أحد، يعني أنا لست معرفا في أي سيستم. في البحرين مثلا كل الأجهزة الرسمية أطلع مش غير معرف. حتى كان قبل يومين في تعميم إلى كل البنوك أن أي حسابات بهذه الأسماء فهذه لم تعد مواطنة. يعني حتى الملكيات اللي لك بالبحرين ما أعرف أنا شو الآن حاليا مصيرها، ولكن نحن غير معرفين. وحتى لو الدولة اللبنانية الآن تريد مثلا أن تسفرني لأي بلد أنا لا أعرف لأنني غير معرف في العالم. يعني ربما العالم يحتاج أن يبتكر مواطنة إلى الذين هم غير معرفين. شكرا.
I'd like to thank our extremely engaging and exciting panel today. I think we have a lot to talk and think about over lunch. I need to remind you to please be back by 2 p.m. sharp, because our next panel will start then. I'd like to thank the conference organizers and the speakers on this panel. And I'd also like to remind you of our parking boards right outside. Please do share ideas. Sometimes they're floating in your minds. Perhaps you didn't have time to share them today, so please share them on the boards outside. They do get read. My comment got read yesterday. I can confirm that. And thank you very much. And don't forget that tomorrow we have a 2.5-hour session. So any thoughts that perhaps may have lingered will be discussed tomorrow in the forum that we have then. Thank you so much.